The foolish probably saw the wise get up, and so they got up too. They were nudged to get up. But the foolish said to the prudent, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." They didn't have what it take. They didn't have what they needed to keep going. So they asked them to give them of their oil. But the wise said, "No, we can't, because we don't have enough for you and us both. Go to those that sell and buy for yourself." The prudent said, "No, there will not be enough for us and you too, but go instead to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they were gone away to make the purchase, behold, the bridegroom came. And those that were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. I want to read that one part there. Those that were ready. Those that were getting ready. Those that were ready. They were ready. They weren't off here going somewhere to buy something. They weren't, their lives and their spirits and their minds weren't so absorbed with what's going down here. They were ready. They were ready. They had the oil. They had the goods. They had what God had wanted them to have, and they were ready to go in with him. How important, beloved, that we need to be ready. And he says, and later the other virgins came, saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he said, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Be on the alert, for you do not know the day nor the hour." He said, it's just like a man about to go on a journey who called his own slaves and entrusted possessions to them. And he gave one 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his own ability. And he went on his journey. You know, I hadn't seen this before, but he gave those talents to those people based on their ability. He didn't give them something that they weren't able to take care of and handle. He didn't put more on them than they could bear. He gave them just what they were able to handle. And it says immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them, and gave 5 more talents. In the same manner, the one who had received the 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. You know, I thought of that scripture over there in Acts, where it talks about those. Let me turn over there for just a second. Not Acts. Excuse me. In Romans. Chapter 1. I thought of this, in regard to the guy that's burying his talent here. And I need my other Bible, because this is one of those weird Bibles that doesn't use, the King James. And I'm used to reading the King James. Okay, in verse 18 of chapter 1 it says, well, I'm going to go back up just a little bit. "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith unto faith, as it is written, but the righteous man shall live by faith." But he says this, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness." They hold it down. They bury it. They bury it. God has given us a word. He doesn't expect us to keep that just hidden inside. You don't put a light up on a light stand and put something over the top of it so nobody can see from the light. When God gives us his word, he expects us to use that word and to be faithful to that. That is how the light shines into darkness. That's how people are drawn. They're drawn to the light. But anyway, this guy, he buried his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. And the one who had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 talents more, saying, "Master, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've gained 5 talents more." His master said unto him, "Well done, thou good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter thou into the joy of your master." The one who had received 2 talents came up and said, "Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained two more talents." And his master said, Well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter thou into the joy of your master. You know, the Lord didn't make any difference between the guy that had the 5 talents and the 2 talents as far as being good and faithful. You know, he's not looking for quantity. He's looking for our heart. He's looking for us, really wanting him, desiring him, looking to him. His master said unto him, Well done, enter into the joy of your master. And the one who had also received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. He didn't do a thing. Not one thing. And the Lord master said unto him, You wicked, lazy slave, you knew that I reap where I did not sow, and gather where I scattered no seed. In other words, he's just using what this guy told him. You know, this guy's the one that came to him and said, You're a hard man, reaping where you do not sow. So his master said, Well, if you knew that this is the way I was, knowing this, you should have at least done this. He said, For everyone, he says, since you know, and I gather where I scatter no seed, then you should have ought to put my money in the bank. And on my arrival, I would have received my money back with interest. If you knew all this, at least you could have done was put it in the bank. To invest it somewhere, to do something with it. But he didn't do anything with it. He was lazy. So he says this. He says, Therefore, take away the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For to every one who has shall more be given, and he shall have abundance. But from the one who does not have, even that which he has shall be taken away. And cast out the worthless slave into the outer darkness, into that place where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he shall sit on his glorious throne. And all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them from one another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep on his right hand, and the goats on the left. And then the king will say to those on the right, Come, you that are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry. Now this is what the Lord's looking for. These are people that are honoring God, that they're serving God. They're not serving themselves. They're serving God. They're not trying to see what they can get down here. They're not trying to see how much they can amass, whether I can, build my business up, whether I can do this or do that. People put so much premium, and I think even parents, and it's like peer pressure. We've talked about peer pressure. The world's peer pressure is that if you're anybody, you need to have this or you need to have that, and it's just a pressure on people to try to build up stuff and get stuff. Stuff isn't going to save us. The only thing that's going to save us is our heart being right with God and being subject to His will and His purpose for your life. And His will and His purpose for your life is to lay down your life for your brethren. It's to lay down your life for people that have need, and to go and to honor Him and honor them and be willing to go and be used and be spent. This is what God's after, and He points us out right here. And He says, the king will say, Come, you blessed of the Lord, inherit the kingdom prepared to you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, you visited me. I was in prison, you came to me.